Yeah, some big news. Let's start with Google this past week or so on the information about the news media bargaining code, which basically can be seen every time you do a Google search.
Yeah, that's right. They've launched a bit of an information war here. So every time an Australian does a Google search, this big yellow box appears at the top of their search saying, oh, Google search is in the news. And you click on that link and then it links you to a video from Australian Managing Director for Google, Mel Silver. And she explains the situation, how it's going to affect search if the bargaining code goes on in its present form. She uses a very interesting analogy. She says that this is like me recommending to my friends, good coffee shops in my area, and then she receives a bill for those recommendations. So that's sort of how she's sort of describing the situation with the news sites. What she left out of that little analogy is the fact that not only what she didn't mention was that not only has she made those recommendations, but the person she made the recommendations to is now going to receive ads about coffee and about based on their age, their sex, their location. So the data collected in that search is kind of the currency that she didn't mention. So I think they're obviously a very big player. They've got a very big footprint for anyone who's searching for them to hear just their side of the story. So I think if it was the other way around, if it was a news media site that was explaining their side of the story in their own terms as widely as Google is now, there'd be a few people that might not agree with that.
Yeah, good point, Steve. Are Google offering any solutions at all?
Well, yeah, in this video, she mentions that they are working on a Google News Showcase, which is basically an area of Google where publishers can join in. She says there's more than 400 publishers around the world, including some from here in Australia, where they can be in charge of the links and the packaging of their stories on the showcase, and then there'd be a revenue share. So that there'd be some agreement on payment of sharing those links, and that would be then replacing the way that we would find news on Google in its current form. So while they're explaining their side of the story quite widely, they are also offering a solution. Hopefully, this will be it, the Google News Showcase.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch this space. Yeah, this week we also saw Data Privacy Day, and in fact, Apple took that as an opportunity to release an eye-opening report to increase awareness on how our data is used.
Yeah, that's right. Data Privacy Day it's a worldwide event, and there were a lot of companies who were playing up to the day and offering information. None bigger than Apple, though. Apple's always been a massive privacy advocate, even though they're the biggest tech company in the world. They still want their customers to enjoy privacy no matter what services or Apple products they're using. They did release this report, though. I think it's called A Day in the Life of Your Data, and revealed some pretty impressive facts. Well, facts that a lot of people wouldn't understand and wouldn't know about. One of them is the fact that every app you download, there's at least half a dozen trackers. So these are they take your data, your location, all your personal information, and often on-sell that to other companies. So you become a piece of real estate for these companies, and that data is then used in other ways on other websites, on other apps, and that collection of data is part of an industry that's worth US dollars $227 billion per year. So it's in their best interest to be able to collect as much data on you as they can. So what Apple's done over the years, and they continue to do so, they've introduced privacy features that they allow you to sign in with an anonymous email. They're now called Sign In with Apple. Their Safari browser now can block trackers so you're not tracked across the internet. And they've also, we recently spoke about it on the show, they introduced a new feature on the App Store where developers had to display quite clearly the privacy information, so how your data would be used. It's like a nutrition label for the app, so you know exactly how your data is going to be collected and how it's going to be used and if it's going to be shared.
All right, is it easy to use? Is it easy to work it all out?
Yeah, well, the App Store gives you complete transparency. You're able to see exactly how your data is going to be used, and in the future, there's going to be other settings that you'll see on iOS devices to give you even more control of your data, how it's used, whether you want it to be collected or not. So, good on Apple for stepping up and giving customers this full transparency and control over their data.
And finally, Tesla has unveiled its updated new Plaid edition of its Model S electric car with an all-new space-age cockpit. Let's have a look.
This is amazing. Yeah, this is actually the new version of I drive the current Model S, so I'm looking enviously at these new pictures here. They've got some incredible new improvements, including a steering wheel that looks like it belongs probably in a Formula One car. They've even got a screen in the back seat for the passengers. They can even play games in that back seat with a wireless controller. 17-inch horizontal screen in the front. Slight improvements in the design on the outside. It's got a different nose section, but that cockpit just looks so space age. It's like something out of Star Wars rather than through Tesla. So interesting to see, though, that steering wheel you see there doesn't have any indicators or gear shifters. So I'm just wondering how that's all going to work. But we're not going to see this in Australia until 2022. So we've got to wait at least a year before this hits the road. But I, for one, am looking forward to seeing this.
Have we got a price?
No, well, it'll be probably 150,000 and above. So this is their top of the line Model S that can go 0 to 100 in about 2 seconds. So it's a real supercar. But the top of the line edition, yeah, you're probably looking at close to more than $200,000. All
right, start saving. Hey, thanks, Steve. Talk to you again next week.
Thanks a lot, Janie.